In order to answer the questions that are on the last few slides of this presentation, you will need to create a phylogenetic tree using the fossils that were provided on the screen here. First off, let's take a look at how this screen is set up. I can see my time periods are off to the left. So I have my Wyomington period, which would be this row. My Ohioan period, which would be this row. Nevadian, this row, so on and so forth. You'll have to scroll down. This is going to be a relatively large Padlet that we are creating. So the first step really is going to be to organize these cards into the appropriate time period. And you'll see the time period underneath. And don't worry for right now whether it says upper or lower or just the name of the time period. You can just click and drag them to the appropriate time frame. You may actually want to pause this video and go and do that, or possibly just hang tight, watch me do it. I'm going to pause this video, sort these out really quick, and then click the resume button on this video. Okay, so I'm back. I have my cards organized into the appropriate time periods. And what you'll notice if you look at the time periods is the top one, the Wyomington period, began 995,000 years ago. The Ohioan began 745,000 years ago. So this is a newer, more recent time period than the one previous to it. So the higher up on the time period chart, the older it is. And as we move down, the more recent it is. We can see down here that the Idahoan period it began 30,000 years ago, but it's still going on today. And it should be noted that these are completely fabricated, fictitious time periods. They're just for the purposes of illustrating this model. So what we need to do to start to create this phylogenetic tree is to arrange these fossils in order from older to newer to show kind of an evolutionary change as we kind of go through. And I will tell you that this tree, this phylogenetic tree, is going to get branching pretty extensively. So you won't want to put your first couple fossils right here. You're going to actually want to move them quite a ways over this direction. It is going to branch out possibly more than you think. So I do have these two fossils from the Wyomingian period, and you see one says lower and one says upper. Lower means it is older. It comes from the older region of the time period. So that means that it should be listed above the ones that say upper. If you come across any that just say, no upper, no lower, like this one here, just Ohioan, this would be something that, would be located between these two. All right, so I have my Wyomington period. And what I'm looking for as I now look at these two fossils is I'm looking for similarities. So you're going to want to look at the body and the segmentation that is there. You're going to want to look at the head, the size, the shape, the tail. What does that look like? So when I start to look at this, just to kind of get you started on how this should look, I can see that there's a lot of similarities between these two fossils. However, I can see that there is possibly a difference in the tail. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments there. And I can definitely see that there's a little change on the head of the more recent fossil. So that tells me that since these are, they do have that slight difference, that tells me that these two fossils are not the same species. So I would offset them just a little bit. This offset, it does show that there's a similarity, there's a relationship, but they are different species. If they were the same species, we would just show that moving straight on down in a nice organized file. But they're different, so we would offset them. Now that we've done that, we've identified that the Wyomington fossil has changed. Now we're going to go to the next era, which happens to be the Ohioan. It looks like I have one card for that, so I'm going to drag that over here. and I'm going to compare it not to the older one, but to the more recent one. And I'm going to say, okay, is there any differences? Is this the same thing or is it different? And when I look at it, let's see, the tail, that kind of looks the same. I know there's 6 segments there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. Really no differences in the head. So I can see that this fossil in the Ohioan period is the same as this one here. And since it's the same, I'm going to put it directly underneath. Now, what happened to this fossil? This particular species is extinct. If it had not been extinct, this fossil would appear in later forms of rock. But it's gone. We probably won't see this one again. So I use my Ohioan. Now we'll go down to my next one, the Nevadian. I have a couple cards here. Let's see what's going on here. Nevadian, let's see, I got 2 uppers. So these are kind of newer. I don't have anything other. Let's compare these to this. Let's see here. This one, oh, it has a little notch in the tail. So it's different. So let's look at this one now. This one, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's still the same. So I'm actually going to put this one here. But now I'm going to set this one off to the side because this is a different species from this one, and they're from the same layer of rock. So these 2 fossils, they were alive at the same time. Actually, I'll probably just drag this one over, and I'll drag this one over so I can just kind of show that this is still aligned with this one. And essentially, moving forward, this is what you're going to be doing as you look at these fossils. You'll start to see, now that we have 2 different species from one, we'll start to see this branch out further and further to the left and further to the right. All right. Continue on down through the remaining fossils. And once you have this done, you'll be in a position where you can go back to the presentation and answer questions based on this model that you have constructed.